Hello, I'm John Squire, although all my grandchildren know me as Pomma. This is really a record of what happened some 60 years ago with the invasion of Normandy. When war broke out, I was absolutely determined not to join the infantry. I didn't want to be in the infantry. It was the last thing I wanted to do. The glamour thing at the time was to be an aircrew, so I volunteered for the aircrew. But unfortunately I failed the intelligence test, and thank goodness I did, because I don't think I'd be alive today. Then I tried the Navy. They said they'd have me, but only as a clerk. Well, that didn't seem very glamorous to a boy of 17, 18. So I wanted to learn to drive, so I thought, what a good idea, I'll join the tank corps. Suddenly I was told, with some 400 or 500 other newly commissioned tank officers, that we were going to be transferred into the infantry. The only choice was which regiments, and as I was born in Norfolk, I opted to join the Royal Norfolk Regiment. And I suddenly found myself in charge of a platoon of some 30 men at the age of 19, doing something for which I wasn't trained at all. Piled into lorries through the Sussex countryside. It was a Saturday, lovely weather. I remember going through village after village, and they were playing cricket. And I thought, what are these people doing playing cricket? It was totally unreal. We're off to fight a war. I wanted to lean out of my lorry and shout, do you know where we're going? But I didn't, of course. So off we went into the channel, thousands and thousands of boats of all shapes and sizes. It was rough, we were tossing about. Big battleships were there. And the one thing that I remember vividly, of course, is that everybody, and I mean everybody, was seasick. And then suddenly the bombardment started from all the battleships that were there. If you can imagine an express train coming past at 120 miles an hour, think of 100 express trains all roaring. That's what the bombardment sounded like. And then suddenly you see the beach and you see houses in the background and your boat's getting nearer and nearer. You're aware that the boat on your right, there's suddenly a loud bang and a flash and it's disappeared. It's been hit by a shell, but you're concentrating so hard, you hit the beach and you're off the boat and onto the beach. Total chaos everywhere, bodies lying about, barbed wire. And then you see the beach master who's in charge. And of course he's shouting like mad, get off the beach, because it's being shelled constantly by the Germans. So your one objective at that point is to get off the beach, which we did, through the line of houses on what I suppose was the promenade, and is now, where we then had to regroup. You count all the men in your platoon. Have you got them all? Are they ready? And when you're all ready, we move off. First of all, we came to a little village called Hermanville, which had already been taken, but it was still under fire from the Germans. We came to a crossroads where shells were falling about every 10 seconds. So you waited for a shell to fall, ran across, counted 10, and then another shell fell, and then the rest of you ran across, so you had to get over by stages. I also remember in the church tower there was a German sniper taking pot shots at us at the same time. As we moved out of Hermanville, and there's still tremendous noise, I remember seeing my first being really aware of a dead body. There was a motorcycle lying in the road with a man beside it, and I thought, what's he doing there? Why doesn't he get up and ride? And then I realized, of course, and he was dead. And that's always stuck in my mind as the first real casualty that I am aware of. There's now a very big military cemetery in Hermanville, where some of my platoon are buried, and a lot of the 1st Battalion of the Royal Norfolks are there as well. We're through the village, and suddenly we're in the middle of a cornfield, and it's absolutely deathly quiet, and I'm aware that we're all on our own. It seemed to last for an age, this stillness, and then suddenly there's a nasty rattle, and bullets are flying all over the place, and I look around and my platoon has disappeared. Where are they? Of course, where they are is flat on their face in the corn, because as soon as you put your head above the corn, the bullets start rattling, and you're sensible and get down again. Of course, we had a number of casualties there. My sergeant was killed, and we were unable to move at all. Luckily, we had a radio. We radioed back to headquarters. They put down a smoke screen. We were able to withdraw, and another detachment went round and dealt with the German machine gun post. We were then halfway to Caen, and we had to advance up a ridge into a place called Le Bezy Wood, where we knew there were some German positions, but our task was to overcome these and move into Caen. What we didn't know, and what nobody knew, was that a couple of days before, a German panzer division with very heavy Tiger tanks had moved in for exercises. Absolutely sheer coincidence. So when we advanced up this ridge, we were suddenly confronted by a very heavy detachment of German tanks. And again we sustained casualties and we had to withdraw. So that on the evening of D-Day, we were digging slit trenches, digging in, preparing really for a German counterattack, because we expected them to re-attack us and try and drive us back into the sea. And that, luckily for us, I think luckily, never came, but we dug our slit trenches, and that's where we stayed really for the next 4 or 5 weeks. I went out one night with half a dozen men, just at the time that the Germans were laying down an artillery barrage. A shell exploded probably about 10 feet away from me, and a piece of shrapnel went through my jaw. Again, being fatalistic, another inch either way and it would have severed my jugular vein. As it was, I was wounded, taken back to a regimental aid post, put on an ambulance, and we went back to the field hospital, which was outside Bayeux. If you can imagine, every piece of transport was moving up and we were trying to go across, against the stream of traffic, but we eventually got through. I was taken into a field hospital where they operated on my jaw, reset it, and then I was put into a Dakota aircraft and flown back to England, into a hospital. The person in the next bed was a tank officer who'd been burnt. He took me home one weekend, and there I met Doreen, who is now my wife, which just again shows you how fatalistic and chance plays a part in war, as in life.